gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's get ready to rumble! This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Little roller up along first. Behind the man. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
Yes, welcome back. This is Sports and Sorts live on a Friday morning. You will, if you want to be notified when we go live, because obviously this is not around our normal 10-ish time, because I got tickets to go see Avengers Endgame, and I'm going to be going to see that very shortly. So we had to log on early to get this done, and basically, this show probably wouldn't even existed if the Bri Man wasn't so Bri Man-ish.
Angry.
And so if you can click that subscribe button, it'll let you know whenever we go live. If you hit that notification bell, it'll let you know whenever we go live. All of that helps, including giving us a little thumbs up. And you can find us on Facebook.com/Shane and the Bri Man or Twitter @Shane and Bri Man. Of course, I am one of your hosts. My name is Shane.
And I'm pissed.
And you can also find us on our website, www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com. And today, we got a great show because the Bri Man's ready to go.
You
Or I
are
can do
listening
that.
to Sports and Sorts with
Yeah.
Shane and the Bri Man.
The
All right.
explosion then. Go with that.
Yeah, the explosion. He's happy.
Everything just blew up.
All right, Bri Man. Since I am not really a part of the show today,
Yeah, you're sort of just there.
I'm just going to be here.
You're you're eye candy for the show.
Unfortunately, not that much. I mean, I got my hat on. I'm like sweats, all sorts of stuff going on today. Because normally I'm like doing finishing up my research and all that kind of stuff.
In other words, you're dressed like me today.
Yeah,
You did your best me.
I did my best, Bri Man.
That's
All
pretty
right,
good.
you ready? You ready, Bri Man?
I'm ready.
All right, so we starting with the NFL draft.
Yeah, let's start with that.
All right. The draft, and I know we got Ed Oliver. I'm supposed to be happy about that. I'm not really sure.
Well,
if that's it.
I think you actually should be happy about that. I think he's a pretty good player. A lot of his measurables, combine stuff. You know, obviously his tape is really good, but combine stuff like Ed Oliver's actually pretty off the charts. So I think you should be pretty happy with that pick.
I was happy to hear he has the highest ceiling.
He does. I think he really does. I think he's a potential impact guy for them right away.
I didn't like how they compared him to Aaron Donald. I was like, slow down, slow your roll, man, slow your roll.
Oh, I mean, you know what though? If you're well, I'll tell you what. Maybe that's a good segue into before I get into the Dolphins rant. Maybe that's a good segue into the Giants because the Giants, boy, did the Giants really take. And I feel bad for their fans. And I think empathize with Giants fans last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw some like videos on social media of Giants fans just losing their minds when that pick came in at number 6 and Gettleman took Daniel Jones from Duke, who's, you know, and then like I said, speaking of comparisons, hey, at least Ed Oliver's getting compared to like a future Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Daniel Jones, the Giants. I mean, I don't know. I think Eli probably starts, and I think Eli probably mentors this kid. But the Daniel Jones comparison is Ryan Tannehill. And look, nobody knows more about that than I do, having sat through 7 years of that mediocrity in hell. If that's the guy, like, why would you take with the number 6 pick in the draft when the only quarterback off the board at that time was Kyler Murray, which was a foregone conclusion? And you could have drafted Dwayne Haskins, and we'll be getting to him shortly. You could have drafted Dwayne Haskins. You could have drafted Drew Lock. And I think Giants fans would have been happier with either one of those guys. You take the guy that's being compared to Ryan Tannehill? I mean, Dave Gettleman is going to have some serious questions to answer to this fan base if this guy doesn't work out. Of course, if he doesn't work out, Gettleman's going to be out of the job. So what's it really matter? But you are pinning your hopes that Daniel Jones is going to be, in the words of excuse me, my goodness, I was probably so much screaming from last night. But you're putting your hopes, in the words of Gil Brandt, that Daniel Jones is going to be the next Peyton Manning, which that ain't going to happen. I have bad news for you. Daniel Jones ain't going to be the next Peyton Manning. There's never going to be another Peyton Manning. So, but I know Giants fans were upset last night, and I get it. I saw so many videos of. I saw this one video of this one Giants fan losing it. It was great. I mean, it was absolutely hilarious. I was dying. Like, and they all punch something. A TV gets punched, a wall gets punched. A lot of these things do seem like premeditated in a weird way, but I can't say I blame Giants fans. That's a really head scratching pick, because you could have had Dwayne Haskins there, and to me, in this draft, because I'm not in love with Kyler Murray. I have a lot of questions about him, a lot of red flags with him. Not so much about his size or anything like that. More just of what's in between the ears. And whereas Dwayne Haskins, I thought, had everything that you wanted. Dwayne Haskins has everything you want, in my opinion, in a potential franchise rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. Big, strong, can make all the throws. Not incredibly mobile, but has really good pocket presence and can kind of shift his feet enough. Almost movement in the pocket-wise could be a little bit, I don't want to say Marino-esque, because, Dan Marino could move his feet in the pocket like nobody. He could sense the blitz like nobody. But Haskins does have a really good head on his shoulders. And as far as football IQ, and we talked about this, I think, a couple days ago, his football IQ is off the charts. An absolutely brilliantly intelligent football player. And you could have had him. He would have been my number one pick. If I had been the Arizona Cardinals and I were so hell-bent on drafting a quarterback because I wasn't in love with Josh Rosen, I would have taken Dwayne Haskins. I would not have taken Kyler Murray. And I'm sure a lot of people would have said, well, that's a horrible, that's a big leap, And maybe you could have probably traded back like a handful of spaces. But you know what? I feel, and maybe this is what the Giants did, to be honest. Maybe they were just like, look, we had Daniel Jones as our guy. We loved him. And if you love him, take him. Don't worry about where you're taking him. Just take him. My problem with Daniel Jones isn't where the Giants picked him. It's just that they picked him at all. I would not have touched that guy. Any comparison to Ryan Tannehill is not a good one. He even wears the same number, for God's sakes. I would avoid that kind of pick. Dwayne Haskins, I would have been all over like white on rice. That guy just looks like the goods to me. Not to mention he played for a big-time program in a pro system under Urban Meyer. Maybe the only knock on Haskins is he hasn't played that many games. And you probably would have liked a slightly larger sample size. But that being said, you can't argue with the sample size that you got. 50 touchdown passes, something ridiculous, like 7 interceptions. I mean, do you know what that ratio is? I can't even do that math. It's so nuts. And a guy who was certainly in the discussion for the Heisman. So Giants fans, I feel your pain. Believe me, I feel your pain. I really do. I know what you're going through, and I unfortunately feel like you have not set yourselves up well for the next 5 to 10 years. I really feel badly for you. Now on to my less than beloved Miami Dolphins, who
Can hop down and do the splits. He can look out. The commissioner went to self-preservation mode right there for a minute, but this guy, I made a 9-clip tape to show my defensive lineman while I was doing this guy, to show these guys this is how
where he jumped into, he almost like jumped over the commissioner. Christian Wilkins, like off the top rope. I mean, you should be so happy about this. I mean, he was like channeling, he was channeling like, I don't know, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
So there are 2 issues for me with this pick. So with the 13th pick, the Dolphins drafted Clemson's interior defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, who, look, as far as his college resume, you cannot argue with anything.
It splits like a champion.
I don't even care about the fact that he can do splits, and I did see that. That is one hell of a. That's a great GIF or GIF or whatever.
Greatest GIF of all time.
It's up there. It's really good. Don't get me wrong. Okay. The guy has looks like apparently some freakish flexibility, which is pretty for a man his size. And he's a big man. That's an over 300-pound man. And look, he's played on 2 national championship teams. He's logged a lot of college games. So he fit everything that the Dolphins wanted from an experience perspective. But if you're the Miami Dolphins and you're sitting at 13 and you're seeing the way that this draft board is shaping out, and then all of a sudden, the only team that stands between you and a potential franchise quarterback is the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals go in a different direction, and they don't take Dwayne Haskins like I thought they would. Because then the Packers were next, and everyone knew they weren't taking a quarterback. And then all of a sudden, pick 13 is there, and there he is. Dwayne Haskins is sitting there. A potential franchise quarterback is sitting there. Now, there are a lot of people in the Dolphins camp who are under the impression that the Dolphins are tanking for Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama. And what the hell? These cats are out of control. I think the cats are about as mad as I am about all this. Anyways, there are people who are under the impression that this is what the Dolphins are doing, that they are simply trying to they're employing the suck for luck thing, except now it's tank for Tua. Here's the problem I have with that logic. There are no guarantees, if you're the Miami Dolphins, that you're going to suck bad enough to get the number 1 pick. And even if you do, what if Tua doesn't have a great year this year? What if he takes a big step backwards? Do you suddenly want him? That picture is funny. Do you suddenly want Twinkle Toes there? Do you suddenly want him as your franchise quarterback? So let's say you do suck. You get the number 1 pick. Is that the guy that you're going to take? What if he has a bad year? And again, I think the more likely scenario, I think Tua will be good. I think the more likely scenario is Ryan Fitzpatrick accidentally wins you more games than you intended, and you don't get that number 1 pick, and you don't get Tua. Because if you don't have the number 1 pick next year, you are not getting Tua, because he's going to go number 1. Because some team is going to be bad enough that they need a quarterback. If you're bad enough next year to have the number 1 pick, in all likelihood, you need a quarterback. So, if you're the Dolphins, what were you thinking? Look, I'm not saying Christian Wilkins is a horrible pick. I'm not crazy about the fact that towards the end of this season, he's going to be 24 years old already. That's not my favorite thing. But, I think he played all 4 years of college. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm not saying he can't make an impact. But I don't like guys with a number 1 pick who you can't expect to be really, truly productive. Like a quarterback can be incredibly productive. Or a defensive end can get you 15 to 20 sacks and can be incredibly productive. Or a linebacker. Or, if you're in that kind of position, like a left or a right tackle. Now, the Dolphins already have their left tackle, so they didn't need that. And the right tackle is probably not a position that you necessarily need to address with your first-round pick. But I just think an interior defensive lineman, unless you're getting Warren Sapp or Ndamukong Suh, what kind of an impact are you really realistically expecting from this guy in year 1 when you could have had a franchise quarterback for the next 10 years? The guy who could have set the tone for this organization for the next 10 years and been the face of this franchise. I'll say this for Chris Greer and Brian Flores, that's a ballsy pick they made last night, because if this doesn't work out, if this guy doesn't work out, and even if he does work out.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
If it doesn't work out, or even if it does, and Dwayne Haskins, though, turns into a franchise quarterback for the Washington Redskins, and he's pissed too, Haskins is pissed that he did that guy draft earlier, so he's got a massive chip on his shoulder. If this does not work out, Chris Greer, Brian Flores, this is going to be your legacy. Not drafting a franchise quarterback when he fell into your lap. You didn't even have to move up. You sat there at 13, and you could have had him. And you let him slip through your fingers, and he went to Washington. And if he goes on and he becomes a great quarterback or a Super Bowl winning quarterback in a handful of years, Chris Greer and Brian Flores, if they're even still here, will be left to pick up the pieces of that mess, and they will have to answer for it. And look, they might have to answer for it right away. What if Haskins is good right out the chute as a rookie? Now he probably won't be because the Redskins are bad. It's a bad team. So they're going to have some issues. But I'm telling you right now, man, that was really, I just felt like the Dolphins really just missed an opportunity last night. I really do. I'm not saying anything bad against Wilkins. Again, I'm not crazy about the fact that he'll be 24 towards the end of this season. I mean, that you might as well get him his walker and his cane now. But look, you had a chance. You had the opportunity. There are no guarantees that you're going to get to it next year. There's none. And you passed on a potential franchise quarterback that you could have had this year. You could have started the cycle a year earlier than maybe you had intended, and you let him go. I first of all, I'm shocked Haskins got there. But once he was there, and you didn't take him, and I knew it too, by the way, just as an FYI, I knew they weren't going to take him. In my heart, I knew they weren't going to take him. I just knew it, because it would have been so un-Dolphin-like for them to actually do something that I wanted them to do. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of fans, a lot of Dolphins fans who are really, really upset. Don't get me wrong, there's actually quite a few who are really happy with this pick. And I think they're all nuts. I think they're all smoking. 420 was last week. So I don't know why you're on the pipe after this. I don't know how, as a Dolphin fan, you could really be thrilled this morning waking up to an interior defensive lineman. Sorry, I just don't.
Now. The Jewel, not the pipe. The Jewel.
Whatever. I'm sorry. I guess I know. So anyways, that's all I want to say about the draft, because I quickly want to just touch on a couple other things. Just to continue in the rant with our beloved Yankees. So you can cue up your little
of the Yankees.
Go ahead.
Look, the Yankees are they have played a lot better than I think either you or I thought they would. But you know what? You had a chance to sweep last night. A pretty bad Angels team. You're up 4-0. Tanaka is pitching pretty well, and then all of a sudden he implodes in the fifth inning. Has his usual Tanaka give up home runs, except the problem is he didn't give up solo shots last night. He gave up a couple of two-run dingers. Just like that, it was 4-4, and then the game got away from them. I'm not going to give them too hard of a time. They took 3 or 4 from a team that I think you and I probably would have been happy if they had just split with, just given the normal house of horrors that it usually is when they go into LA, or on the West Coast in general. That being said, and I was talking to my brother about this yesterday, you go into LA, you've won the first 3 games. Now your next 2 pitchers are your 2 best until Severino comes back. You've got Tanaka and Paxton. And then you're thinking like, okay, well, we got to be greedy here, because somehow this ragtag group of misfit toys has managed to scrape together enough runs to have won 6 straight games with, Domingo Germán and CC Sabathia pitching and the bullpen still faltering, and somehow they've scratched out 6 games. But then you get to your 2 best pitchers and you're like, okay, you really got to take advantage of the times when these guys pitch. When Tanaka's on the mound, until Severino comes back, and until the offense is much healthier, you have to win games.
They seem to be struggling with these pitchers that are good that are on the mound.
I know.
Paxton's been 12 Ks, 2 games.
Right, and he only got 1 win. He should have been 2. And the bullpen, that was the Easter game, which thank God they came back and won, because that would have been, I would have thrown something if they had lost that game. But I'm telling you, man, so, now I will tell you, tonight's game, Paxton versus Mad Bum. Oh, baby. Oh, get your DVR ready. If you're not going to stay up and watch it, just put the DVR on. Now, who knows? Maybe both of them will suck and they'll both get knocked around. I doubt it. I can't imagine the Yankees lineup knocking Mad Bum around. And I really can't imagine the Giants lineup knocking Paxton around either. So it should be a low-scoring affair, and it should be a pitcher's duel.
These are those matchup that, when you have like a team like the Giants who are not a good offensive team, they always seem to put together some runs, like the Tampa Bay Rays in the past. They always put together a lot of runs against the Yankees, even though they probably shouldn't have, because the Yankees sometimes play down to their competition.
Yeah, exactly. And the last thing and maybe, who knows, maybe the Yankees here will be getting a look at one of their future rotation.
Possibly. Make some trades.
We will see.
Come on, man.
Last thing I want to say real quick as we head out. Very, very sad to hear of the passing of Celtics legend John Havlicek, small forward, shooting guard for the Boston Celtics in their heyday. Won, how many championships did he win? 8 times. He was an 8-time NBA champion. He was a Finals MVP. He's a 13-time All-Star. His number is retired by the Celtics. He was an all-time player, and also probably part of one of, if not the greatest, calls of all time. Havlicek stole the ball, and that's one that you don't even necessarily have to be like a basketball fan to have heard that call and to know kind of what it references. Yes, passed away yesterday at the age of 79. Very sad. He was just an all-time player, an all-time legend in the NBA. Yeah. And Godspeed to him. So, but that's pretty much it for my rant. I really felt like it was important to hop on the air a little this morning and get this out. I was really angry last night. I mean, I really was. I was just so furious.
I almost wish that we did it then.
Maybe a live one would have, because if you'd seen the look on my face, it might have been pretty funny. But it was, it was just more like heartbreak. It was just more heartbreak. And the only way the Dolphins can redeem themselves, as far as I'm concerned right now, is to make a trade for Josh Rosen. Trade your 3rd round pick for Rosen, or maybe next year's 2nd round. I don't know. Don't go crazy, because the Cardinals have 0 leverage basically at this point.
No,
because all their trade partners are pretty much dried up.
Yep.
So if you're the Dolphins, you're really not competing with anybody. Maybe Cincinnati, maybe Denver. But to be honest, you should be able to get Josh Rosen for a pretty low price. And, the other nice thing about him is he comes with a rookie contract and 3 more years left on it. So, why not give him a chance? Well, it's not that I don't want Ryan Fitzpatrick to start. It's that I know Ryan Fitzpatrick is not the long-term solution. Right. So, I want a guy to start for the Dolphins this year at quarterback who could be a long-term solution potentially.
And the good news is, if he is your long-term solution, that's great. Then you figured it out. But if not, you only gave up a 2nd-round pick, and then you can go and draft possibly your quarterback that you want.
I think they'd only have to give up a 3rd rounder in this year's draft to get it. Again, keep in mind the Cardinals have no leverage because there's not many other trading partners, and the only thing that they have on their side is they're selling you a guy who is basically coming off of his rookie year and is on his rookie contract, doesn't have a lot of money on that rookie contract. So,
it's not like he played terrible. He was on an awful team.
Oh, he was on a horrible team with a really bad offensive line, but he showed you flashes that reminded me, not in terms of style, but in terms of results last year, that reminded me a lot of Eli. Eli Manning is maybe a possible Hall of Fame quarterback. He probably is, actually. So, I don't know. You don't want a guy who maybe could give you that kind of career? I'll take 2 Super Bowls. I'll take 1 Super Bowl.
The Dolphins make some weird decisions.
They do. The Dolphins make me cry. And that's probably the perfect way to end this show.
All right. Thank you very much. I hope you had a good time listening to the show. And we will see you guys again, not on Monday, because I'm going to be playing at a golf tournament. But other than that, we'll see you, I guess, next Friday.
Yeah, well, and we will have to have a very thorough breakdown of Avengers Endgame, because we will both have seen it. Oh, excellent. I did.
Is this the song?
Yeah. Go ahead, keep it on. I'll sing it.
No, it's all right.
Do you like?
So you had something else you want to say?
I was actually just going to say, I'm not going to give you any spoilers about Endgame, but Tim Callahan did see it last night, and he did say, if you want to beat traffic, there are no end or credit scenes of any kind.
None, huh? They decided. It makes sense.
It does make sense, right? Mm-hmm. It's Endgame. So
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I think so too.
Yeah. That is good. I'm glad. I'm glad to know that.
So yeah, bolt out of it.
I was actually thinking of texting him.
Yeah, just go. Skedaddle.
All right.
You just want to love you, but... Oh,
Get
hold
to
on,
the bathroom early. It'd be all great.
Turn it up, turn it up. We already made a mistake.
All right, man. We will see you guys not this coming Monday, but the following Friday, a week from today. We'll see you later. We're glad we got this out. There was a good chance that we weren't going to be able to do a show today, but
We did it.
We did it. We did it because for you.
Thanks. I forced your hand.
You did.
A little bit. Not really.
Not really.
Stay close. Stay close.
I did offer it.
Yeah, you did. You did. And I jumped on the opportunity to bet.
Yes.
All right. Well, we love you guys. We'll see you next week sometime. Enjoy Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
I
You're
have
gonna see
heard
it tomorrow
nothing
morning,
but
right?
and this thing's tomorrow morning. Yes.
I'm very excited. All right. We'll see you later. Bye. Bye.
I hate you, Dolphins.
You got it in. You got it in.